As I investigated places in New Mexico to retire to, Alamogordo tugged at my curiosity. The city's name means fat cottonwood tree. As you will see, Alamogordo is a small city with many advantages, partly because of its location and also because of its low cost of living. BestPlaces.net rates Alamogordo's cost of living as 24% lower than the U.S. average. It's noteworthy that New Mexico's overall cost of living is rated as lower than the U.S. average. Yet, Alamogordo is notably less expensive than cities like Santa Fe, Albuquerque, and even nearby Las Cruces. Alamogordo's location is advantageous in several ways. The city of 32,000 people is 227 miles, or a 3.5-hour drive from Albuquerque. Albuquerque is New Mexico's largest city with more than 500,000 inhabitants. Alamogordo is 68 miles, or a 70-minute drive from Las Cruces. Las Cruces is New Mexico's second largest city with more than 100,000 residents. Las Cruces is home to New Mexico State University and the Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. So those are the larger cities in New Mexico that Alamogordo is close to, but I must note that Alamogordo is also close to El Paso, Texas, which has a population of almost 700,000. El Paso is just a 1.5-hour drive or 90 miles away from Alamogordo. Because El Paso sits on the U.S. border with Mexico, adjacent to Ciudad Juarez, this means a large Mexican airport can be reached from Alamogordo somewhat conveniently. I'll explain later why I believe being close to a large Mexican airport and not just a busy American airport like El Paso's can be advantageous. Alamogordo has a lot to offer people who value time in the outdoors. Alamogordo is just a 17-minute drive from White Sands National Park and similarly close to the Lincoln National Forest. It's a 1-hour drive from the Mescalero Reservation, which is adjacent to two notable mountain resort towns. Let me say a little bit about Cloudcroft and Ruidoso. Cloudcroft is just a 25-minute drive from Alamogordo. I'll discuss weather later, but for now let me point out that Cloudcroft's average temperature in July is just 71 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 24% lower than Alamogordo's average high temperature in July. Ruidoso is about a 1-hour drive from Alamogordo. Ruidoso's average temperatures are similar to Cloudcroft's, which is to say that Ruidoso is another option for residents of Alamogordo who need a quick escape from summer heat. It's also another option for Alamogordans who enjoy skiing in the winter. It should be no surprise that Alamogordo has very hot summers and mild winters. The average high in July is 93 degrees Fahrenheit. The average high in January is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Those are averages, so if I moved there, I'd have to be prepared for temperatures over 100 degrees in the summer and for rare snowfall in the winter. As mentioned previously, when the summer heat is unbearable, a short trip to Cloudcroft or Ruidoso might provide relief. The city averages only 13 inches of rain per year. So moving to Alamogordo represents a commitment to living in a desert climate. Alamogordo is home to the Gerald Champion Regional Medical Center and several urgent care centers or clinics. Other major employers in the area include Applied Research Associates, New Mexico State University Alamogordo, which is a 2-year college, and various area schools. Holloman Air Force Base may be the area's largest employer, and various federal agencies such as the Forest Service also have offices in the region. According to citydata.com, in 2019, the racial composition of Alamogordo's population was as shown in this table. As one might expect for this part of the southwestern United States, the majority of the population self-identifies as white or Hispanic. For me, the only surprise in these data was that so few of the citizens identify as American Indians. After all, the Mescalero Reservation is only about 26 miles outside of town, and the percentage of American Indians for New Mexico as a whole is approximately 10%. If you've spent substantial time in Alamogordo, perhaps you can explain that surprising data point to us. Alamogordo may be a great fit for people who love Mexican-inspired food, architecture, and culture. For its size, Alamogordo's culinary offerings seem quite good. Of course, there are several highly rated Mexican, Tex-Mex, or Southwestern-themed restaurants, but there are also several highly rated East Asian restaurants. Educational sites around Alamogordo include the public library, which is well networked with access to many databases. The New Mexico Museum of Space History is a major attraction, and there are museums devoted to unique topics such as the history and geography of the area, toy trains, the Shroud of Turin, and the U.S. Armed Forces. A short drive away in Cloudcroft, there is also a highly rated museum that educates visitors about the mountains in the area. Throughout the state of New Mexico, there are abundant opportunities for outdoor recreation and sightseeing. Here are just a few of the many attractions that caught my interest while browsing through a tourism magazine for the state of New Mexico. This list is far from comprehensive, but it gives some idea of why New Mexico as a whole may be an attractive state for retirees. I noted earlier that it is advantageous that Alamogordo is so close to the Mexican border. Many people already know that Mexico is a wonderful country to visit. Americans and Canadians associate Mexico with warmer temperatures due to the popularity of resort cities like Playa del Carmen, Puerto Vallarta, and Cabo San Lucas. But Mexico is also full of beautiful towns and cities at high elevations. Lower cost, culturally rich travel destinations like San Miguel de Allende, Guanajuato, Puebla, Oaxaca, and Mexico City have mild temperatures year-round. Visiting Mexico can be easier or cheaper for Americans living near the border. People who live near El Paso, as Alamogordans do, may have a choice of flying out of the El Paso International Airport or the Ciudad Juarez International Airport. After all, these airports are only 16 miles apart. After searching flights and comparing fares, I discovered that with careful planning, an American destined for a popular Mexican travel location can save 30 to 50% just by flying out of Juarez instead of El Paso. For European destinations I checked, the amount saved by departing from Juarez is generally not as great, but sometimes a passenger can still save a little. It's a shame that Juarez continues to suffer at the hands of drug cartels. Violence there is generally on the decline, but it's still high, and I probably wouldn't spend more than a few hours in that city. Briefly passing through the city in daylight on the way to the airport feels low risk to me. I don't know of any perfect retirement destination. Every location I've studied has advantages and disadvantages, and anywhere I might move would require some trade-offs. So let me conclude with a straightforward appraisal of Alamogordo's pros and cons. The city is smaller than I'd prefer, but if I needed the resources of a big city, El Paso is about 90 minutes away. While I would prefer to be somewhat closer to a big city, 90 minutes away might be an acceptable distance. Alamogordo is hotter in the summer than I'd like, and average temperatures will probably rise due to climate change. Moreover, the desert landscape around Alamogordo could eventually bore me. If the heat gets too oppressive in Alamogordo's summer, or if I need some variety in landscape, I could take day trips to nearby mountains and could concentrate my outdoor activities in the morning to escape the heat. I can think of only pros when considering Alamogordo's nearby travel and outdoor recreation opportunities. National parks and forests, mountain towns, New Mexican sites, and a gateway to appealing destinations throughout Mexico are all fairly close. On balance, I think the advantages of living in Alamogordo might outweigh the disadvantages. If you've been to Alamogordo, I would be glad to hear about your experiences in the comments.